Not stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat. All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago when you first started, you were able.
Las Canarias, thank you for the 50 gifted subs, allowing 50 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour, despite the fact that I did get a failing grade here on that ad break segue. God damn it. Absolutely eviscerated by that. You guys are, oh my God, you wouldn't want you as a teacher, okay? You wouldn't want you to grade you, chat. God damn. Your stream makes me feel like I don't have problems in life. I don't know if there's a good thing or a bad thing, or I don't know. Good thing, I guess. Gen X and millennials already gave the 9-to-5 gig a shot, and it fell apart miserably for most of them. Why would Gen Z want to sign up for the same false promises? All right, let's continue with
to do everything that I am now struggling to do. Let me add another perspective here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt. You have 20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you to gain raises, to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you created. You can sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills. And that is what you created, not Gen Z. We're just here getting started. You've been doing it for the last 20 years. You tell me how it got ruined.
I think it's like odd that people are dunking on her because like, I guess it's like, it's weird to like frame it from a Gen Z problem because this is a consistent problem under capitalism. And yes, generational politics, specifically like this kind of generational divide is yet another way for liberals to try and mystify class politics. That's it. Okay? That's how this works. Same principle behind the idea of like, oh, upper middle income or middle class. Like all of these concepts were created with the express purpose of trying to mystify class dynamics, which are pretty apparent, pretty obvious. And it's very successful, if I do say so myself. I use it sometimes as well, colloquially, right? So overall, what she's saying is correct. I don't think that it's a controversial take to be like, hey, working at Walmart, as a worker at Walmart, I shouldn't have to work 40 hours and still not be able to make ends meet and still not be able to live by myself. That's a non-controversial perspective. Anyone that yells at that is a buffoon. Anyone that yells at that quite literally fails to capture their own conditions. They are doing what I like to always call peasant brain. They're doing the "me lord" is what they're doing. They're going around and saying, "No, me lord, you deserve all the grain. You deserve it, me lord. The other peasants are hiding the grain from you. It wasn't that bad of a bountiful winter." That's what you're doing. You're advocating against other fellow peasants, okay? You're sucking up to the Lord. That's it. She correctly identifies America in the realization that she's never going to get out of that cycle of working for nothing. Hit her while she's taking on this video is amazing. She's correct. While alienation doesn't exist for everyone, it always hurts the next generation more. That's what the late-stage capitalism necessitates. Gen Alpha will say the same, and it will be just as correct. Yes. I mean, its conditions worsen relatively to the other people. And the reality of the matter is that this is a problem that every generation has experienced time and time again. I do think that people definitely have they do definitely have like rose-colored nostalgia glasses on. I mean, there's certain aspects of like American existence that have, on paper, gotten better for a broader percentage of the audience. However, overall, we still haven't solved this very serious problem, which is if you work 40 to 50 hours a week, you should be able to live on your own. That is crazy. Okay? That's crazy. It's ironic because she works at Walmart, which is the greatest welfare recipient of all time in the United States of America. As a company, a gigantic percentage of their workforce works on food stamps. Like, they don't get paid enough. And Walmart adjusts their wages with that in mind. They get the food stamps from the federal government or from their state governments, and then they turn around and use those food stamps at Walmart. Okay? What a way to double book. Oh, my Lord. Additionally messed up when you think about the reality that the Walton family, I believe, still maintain like 50% ownership over Walmart, which means that, like, we are directly giving them a tremendous amount of money. Like, the federal government is directly subsidizing a ginormous amount to the tens of billions in their net worth that they continuously grow year over year. Whew.
We can sit here and we can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but you let the economy turn into what it did. You let it all run to hell. And now it's Gen Z's fault because we don't want to work to fix your mistakes.
Anyway, I work 2 jobs, was essentially around 50 to 60 hours a week. I'm also a full-time student. This late-stage capitalism cycle is brutal. Yeah. Crazy statistic. In the UK 20 years ago, the majority of 18 to 30-year-olds lived with their kids. Now the majority of 18 to 30-year-olds live with their parents. Yep. I'm 37, 20 years into this madness, and it just never changes, only gets worse. I'm not interested in struggling to meet some arbitrary deadline set by someone else to just pay my bills. I'll forever be anti-work. Yeah, I don't know. Anger is an honest emotion, but I think our anger is misdirected at generational politics when it's more of a systematic issue on how we organize the economy, in my opinion. Yes, I am not a believer in generational politics. That is precisely the reason why I told Jenk what I told him, that it is a foolhardy, silly way of analysis that will leave you shocked when you find out that there are still very much, a 50-50 split between the two different parties, no matter what. I've shared this here before, but it's relevant again. I have my doctorate in pharmacy. I left retail pharmacy because I couldn't afford to pay my $316,000 in loans on a salary of $120K while living in D.C. So now I make $205K and was forced to move to D.C. to work in person at a desk job. I pay $3,200 in rent in a 2-bedroom bathroom and lose $2.5K a month in loans. I am so far away from my house, and I'm almost 32. Yeah, and you're one of the highest trained professionals overall. I was talking to my mom about this the other night when she was talking about how lazy her Gen Z coworkers are. I asked her how much her Gen Z coworkers make currently. She said $40K. Then I asked her how much she made when she was their age working in that same job they're working in now. She said $40K. And Gen Xers and Boomers wonder why Gen Zs hate working. Buy a fan a house, or you fake? I'm fake. I'm fake as hell. I'm the fakest you've ever seen. Anyway. I calculate my real income by taking the gross amount, subtracting rent and commute, and that's how much I have. Like I made $65K, but after rent, I really made $40K, and I'm a truck driver. They used to call Gen X the me generation. Same story, every generation. Yes, generational politics are unchanging because the real back and forth in politics are not on generational or on different generations, but instead they are done on class lines. The dynamic between the capital owning class and the wage laborer class is still the same. The needs are still the same. Obviously, it gets a little bit more muddied with like professional, with the concept of like professional work and things of that nature. But overall, it's still, albeit reductive, still something that you can point to as your basis, as your foundational politics. Anyway. Our work at a lab company announced they were giving everyone a raise to help match inflation prices. They only give us a 50-cent raise hourly. Nice. I mean, there's a lot you can do with that. Curious on your take, if Twitch wasn't paying you enough, what do you think you'd be doing currently? But I don't know. So, yeah, nobody wants to work anymore is also another take that is existed in perpetuity. That's another thing. Like, that also doesn't go away, right? So, yeah, I know Chris Christie dropped, chat. I'm going to talk about our big boy dying, okay? I will. So, yeah, I think that but blaming something is nebulous and hard to grasp as the economy is way more difficult than just blaming your parents or grandparents, especially when they're complaining about how lazy you are. Yeah, I think like older generations say Gen Z sucks. Older generations say Gen Z are lazy and they suck. Younger generations, like Gen Z, say the older generations ruin the economy. And the reality is that generational politics are silly. I use it colloquially for funsies, but overall, they're silly. It's just it's just a way to mask the truth. The real truth is class politics. As a worker, you have goals. You want to work the least amount of hours for the most amount of pay. It's perfectly normal to feel this way. This is a normal thing, okay? I'm talking about this from the perspective of self-interest. Your boss, on the other hand, the capital owner, person who owns the job, owns the workplace, owns the business, wants you to work for the most amount of hours for the least amount of pay that they can get away with paying you. This is the inherent contradiction that causes the division and also the antagonism between the two classes. Same thing happened with your parents as well. Okay? That's it. After the Black Death, there were lots of complaints from the ruling class that serfs and peasants were quiet quitting and in general didn't want to work anymore. From the Statutes of Laborers, 1349 to 51. You can read the same stuff in the Wall Street Journal today. This goes back to my Lord argument. Whereas it was lately ordained by our Lord the King, and by assent of the prelates, earls, barons, and others of his council, against the malice of servants who were idle and not willing to serve after the pestilence without excessive wages, that such manner of servants, as well men as women, should be bound to serve, receiving the customary salary and wages in the places where they ought to serve in the 20th year of the reign of the king that now is, or 5 or 6 years before, and that the same servants, refusing to serve in such a manner, should be punished by imprisonment of their bodies. The servants, having no regard to the ordinance, but to their ease and singular covetousness, do withdraw themselves from serving great men and others, unless they have livery and wages double or treble of what they were wont to take in the 20th year and earlier, to the great damage of the great men and impoverishment of all the commonalty. The statute applied to all those who did not own enough land for their own subsistence, obliging them to work for lords at fixed wages. Hence it struck at small holders as such. That's right. So it doesn't even matter what the structure looks like. I've covered this before, the nobody wants to work anymore thing before. I mean, it goes way, way, way back in time, not just like 1894. See, worker been lazy for a long time. Miracle, we're here. The other part of this that I find really cool, really fascinating rather, is that the way that we are describing the lords, okay, that hasn't changed either. Class dynamics have not changed at all, okay? Because when you look at it, they're still regarding the job providers as great men. You are serving great men, okay? The attitude of entitlement is still there. You should be excited at the prospect of serving a great man. Okay? And that's it. What holds the glue that holds that structure together at that time was, of course, still the threat of violence. But beyond that, which, by the way, still exists, we have police forces, system, a criminal justice system for this specific reason. But also, the glue, the theoretical glue that held it all together was God, was religion. Nowadays, not so much. People don't really, especially in the Western world, don't really believe in the God stuff that much, but they do believe in another ideology. Especially here in the United States of America. They believe it more than they believe God in some instances. That's capitalism. And the glue within capitalism is no longer the divine right to rule, but instead meritocracy. The idea that every single person can go from being a peasant to being a lord king is consistently instilled upon the population, reinforced over and over and over again since birth. That fallacy, that fake freedom that you have for class mobility is seen as the shining beacon that keeps it going. Okay? Meritocracy, the idea that Elon Musk, of course, worked hard and worked smart, and that's precisely the reason why he has, $200 billion of fake money. He is the myth of gifted individual. The myth of the gifted individual. Elon Musk, he deserves it. He did it. He worked hard for that money. He worked smart for that money. How dare you say anything about Elon? How dare you say he's stupid? No matter what the evidence points to, he's still worth $200 billion. Doesn't matter if he took a company and tanked it like the one that we're looking at currently, Twitter, right? He's still worth the most, which means he still is the best, right? Bigger the number, better the person. And that's it. The myth of meritocracy keeps this entire process together. To those in the underclass, it gives them motivation that one day they too will have bountiful wealth. They too will live like the Elon Musks of the world, the Richard Bransons of the world. And it reinforces the position that those at the tippy top of society that have the same level of power and wealth accumulation that kings had and lords had in times before, it reinforces and re-solidifies their position. It tells everybody that, no, they deserve to be there. They worked hard and they worked smart. 1,000,000 times smarter, as a matter of fact. Bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Meritocracy is a lie. There are certain sectors where you can get close to a meritocratic approach, but you can never overcome probability. Probability will always play a role. Luck will always be a factor. You have no say in what zip code you're born in, and that's precisely why, on average, when you look at it, your zip code that you were born in is more determinative of your future prospects than anything else in this country. The financial circumstances that you were born into, in this country even, greatly dictates where you are going to end up. Now then, beyond that, you also have to think about the zip codes elsewhere. Who's to say that a child born in India to a lower caste structure is not destined to be a brilliant scientist? We simply don't know. There is so much potential out there that is laid to waste as a consequence of the awful material conditions that so many people, the overwhelming majority of the population on the planet, is subjected to. Okay? That's it. This does not mean that hard work does not factor into it. Of course it does. Of course. I am not a particularly skillful person. I'm not smarter than the average person. I'm not more charismatic than the average person. I'm not quick-witted. Okay? But I do work really hard. Okay? I do. I work so hard. I work non-stop. You can say that work, Omegalol, on Twitch, but when you compare the just sheer number of hours that I'm on camera, and you compare it to other forms, other facets of entertainment, other facets of media, you start to recognize it. Obviously, the thing I do is nothing in comparison to like a delivery driver or someone that works in an Amazon distribution facility. That's back-breaking labor. That's a necessary form of labor. Okay? But the reality is, I have a tremendous amount of luck that factored into what family I was born into, what I look like. Even what I look like is a great example. What I look like is a great example. Because if I didn't work so hard, if I didn't work out every single day, if I didn't manage my diet all the time, if I didn't have a tremendous amount of willpower to stop myself, I wouldn't look the way I do, right? So obviously luck played a role in that, and hard work played a role in that as well. When I first started on Twitch, I could not yap at all. I was terrible off the cuff. I could not speak off the cuff at all. That was part of the reason why I wanted to even begin speaking on Twitch. I wanted to get better at delivering the information that I had in my mind in an uninterrupted fashion. without going, all the time. And I still do that, right? And the only reason why I can talk uninterrupted for 10 consecutive hours over and over and over and over again is because for years and years I've been doing this. That's it. That's it. It's not because I'm gifted. You know who's gifted? Will. Will is a natural talent. Okay? He works really hard too. He's the genius of hard work, as he always says. I am as well. But he's also very gifted. He is naturally a very charismatic person. He is a born theater kid. He is a showman. I never was. Okay? Here's the thing. Being a born showman or being gifted in a particular field gives you a massive advantage early on. Okay? Same with athleticism, for example. If you're like a particularly athletic person, which I am not, right? You can pick up a ball and pick up a sport very quickly, right? Will is also a very athletic person, for example. But I'll give you an example where I, am better than he is, right? Basketball. I'm not a very athletic person, but I'm better than many people, many average basketball players for two reasons. One, because of the natural height advantage that I have. I'm much taller, right? So there you go. That's the immediate benefit that I have from luck. But then also beyond that, I work very hard. I play a lot. I play basketball for years and years and years, okay? So when I pick up a dodgeball, I'm not that good. I'm not good at all. But at least when it comes to basketball, I am good. It's something that I'm very confident in. It's something that I know I'm good at. Why? Because I've done it for years. So natural talent only takes you to a certain place, okay? Dude, write a book or something. Holy shit. Wait, what? Any excuse to talk about yourself? Jesus fucking Christ. Narcissism overload. Dude, write a book or something. Holy shit. Trying to make your head bigger any way possible. My friend, I don't think you understand. I can only give you examples of my life so I can try to make this easily digestible. I'm a Twitch streamer. This chatter has had it out for you since you mentioned Hutch earlier today, by the way. Yeah. I don't know what else to explain in this situation. Like, if you... Makes me sad, dude. 39-month subscriber, like, failing to comprehend a point that I've made for 39 months makes me sad. I've been making this point, this exact same point, in perpetuity for the past 10 years. It is one of the most important aspects of understanding my worldview and understanding, I guess, just the anti-capitalist perspective, anti-capitalist framework, is that hard work is important. Okay, of course it is. But ultimately, meritocracy is still a lie. The way that it is explained to people is silly. It's just a way to try and get you on board and not have you recognize that many of the people in the tippy top are not there because they worked harder than everybody else or worked smarter than everybody else. That's not it. They were able to capitalize on the opportunity given to them, and many people do not have that opportunity because of the material conditions that they're born into. And there's nothing you can do about changing that reality. This doesn't mean you should stop working very hard to overcome those hurdles. I say that all the time, okay? You should do everything in your power to overcome the conditions that you were subjected to. That's precisely the reason why I explained some of the things that I had to overcome myself. I mean, there's a reason. My entire family is obese, for example. Okay? People say, oh, you're attractive. That's like the reason why you're successful. And it's like, sure. But I worked very hard at that. That was something I was able to overcome. It did not come easy to me. I did not have any natural gifts in that regard. Okay? Obviously, that only takes you so far. Anyway. So, I explained all of this to you because I want you to understand that the system is designed around a lie, and that lie has changed over the years, but the fundamentals of or the necessity for that lie has not changed. The necessity for that lie to exist is the class dynamic that works regardless, that exists regardless of whether you recognize it or don't. If you do recognize it, then you can work against it. How can you work against it? Through collective bargaining, through getting together, okay, and demonstrating the only power that you have as a wagee. Okay? That's class awareness. Class awareness is the first point towards demonstrating class solidarity. Capital owners are class aware, and capital owners demonstrate class solidarity all the time. You need to develop class consciousness, and then you need to engage in class solidarity.